Today's daf is daf nun ches. We're holding heichi nafal. The where asks heichi nafal, how did the animal fall? Rav Kamah Omer shochel b'mei ragleo. Kana says it slipped on his own urine. Rav Omer shetoch kol saverti. Another animal belonging to the same owner pushed it, causing it to fall there. Mad Omer shetochavte v'chaverti kol shekin shochel b'mei ragleo. The one who says that the Mishnah is referring to a case where another animal pushed it, all the more so would apply to where it slipped on the urine. That's a pasha, that's negligent, and has to pay for what it damaged. You should have led your animal across one by one so that it would not be able to push one another. They taught that the owner pays the benefit that it derives in the same garden bed in which it fell. But if it went from garden bed to another garden bed, then it pays for what it damaged. Even if the animal continues going from bed to bed to another and eating from the entire day, until it leaves the garden entirely and returns to the owner's knowledge. Do not say unless the animal leaves with the owner's knowledge or returns with his knowledge. Rather, once it leaves the garden with the owner's knowledge, even if it returned without its knowledge, then the owner is chayav to pay what it damaged. Why time or why? That the owner of the garden can say to the owner of the animal, since the animal now has learned that the garden is there with food to eat, every time it strays, it will run there. The Mishnah said, if it descended into the garden in its usual manner and caused damage, it pays for what it damaged. If the animal descended in the usual manner and gave birth to a calf where it's damaged, what's the halacha? Does the owner of the animal have to pay for the damage? So according to the one who says that one is chayav in the case of damage, that is initially through she and then Eines Zoloitiboyla. So leave the manner with class of a shear with 7 minutes butter. Me, I'm in the cute class of a shear with 7 minutes butter. The Malchi Kulub shear, do you say everything is a shear? The Kim, the Kachazi, the Krivel, in the middle, be boiled in. Since he said that the animal was close to giving birth, should have safeguarded it adequately. Ule Samure Begaba, and taking care of it, so watch this take. How does the Beis appraise the value of the damage when the owner pays for what was damaged? So he says the Beis appraises a large piece of land with the area required of sowing one seed by seed in that field, including the garden bed in which the damage took place. It appraises how much it was worth for the animal damage and how much it is worth now. And it pays that the how do you know this? Someone of Masna that were crow beer was the Akar says in the fed in another field. The Akar teaches us that the basin appraises the damage relative to another field. In other words, relative to the damaged field as a whole and not an appraisal of the specific garden bed that it was damaged. So we're asked with this phrase of it's necessary to teach that the owner is not chayav unless it was a field with an owner to exclude damage caused by an animal in Rosh Hashanah. First, the owner is not chayav. Why is it in Cain if the nachmona beer b'ste'acher? Inam b'ste'acher. What does it mean? B'ste'acher shamana, it must be shaman agavsa de'acher, that the Beis Din appraises the damage relative to another field. And so why do you say that the entire pasuk is teaching us that the Beis Din appraises the damage relative to another field? And where do we know that the liability of damage by eating in the Rosh Hashanah? So the Gemara says in Kin, the Torah should say that his best quality field and the best quality of the vineyard, he shall pay in another field, thereby adding the turn in another field, and by extension, the directive concerning how the damage is appraised to the pasuk discussing payment. So normally the kasher achwana gabi beer. What does it say? Beer. There must be two things. One says, "Hey, how do we the Beis Din appraise the value of the damage?" I want to basically so b'sar seen. The Beis Din appraises the value of an area required for sowing one saw of seed, relative to an area required for sowing 60 saw of seed. According to this calculation, determines the value of the damage. Yami Tarkiv Rishishim Tarkaim. Tarkiv relative to the area of Tarkiv. This gomer kelach b'shishim klachim. The value of each stock eaten relative to 60 stocks. Mace for that's the shaila ochlu kavik kabayim. Animal ate a kavik kabayim and even to shal demand. Based on the Zaz say that the owner paid a compensation according to their value, the value of the actual damage. Rather, if you do it as if it were small garden beds, then evaluate accordingly. Sharon, I say. So my lab, if they ask, must be by itself, and much as like shishim. It means that the basin appraises the value in relation to an area 60 times greater. Taram Barawin, a Shoman Kav. When appraising the damage, the basin is not appraised based on the area of a base Kav. Nay, she misha mash bichi. As doing so enhances its position. Lay base core out a base core, and finish pigment because it weakens its position. My comer, what's the price of saying? We're in Shuman Kav b'shishim kam. The basin does not appraise the value of a kav relative to an area of 60 kav. Nay shemash biach mazik, because that would enhance the position of the one liable for damage, like ker b'shishim kairin, and not appraise the value of the core relative to the area of 60 car. It should pay mazik, because that would weaken the value, the position of one liable for damage. Masculine of one of our high valley base car valley kerman, but it should have said and not to praise it relative to car. Element of kana element of one of our never spread of acha, but it did ikach. Ain't shaman kava from the atzmi. Basin is not a praise of kav by itself, but that would enhance the position of the injured party. Like kav base car, nor does the basin appraise a kav as one of base car, or facial pigum nizik, because that would weaken the position of the one injured party. Why says who gavra the katz kashba mechaber? There was a certain man who cut down a palm tree, palm belonging to another. They came, the perpetrator for arbitration before the Ishkalusa. He said, the perpetrator, I personally saw the place where the date palm was planted. And it contained 3 date palms standing together in a cluster. Cluster Bava Kamah Daf. And they were worth altogether 100 dinars. So since you cut down one of the 3, so the seal, how would the cluster of Atilsa go and give him 33 water dinars? Whatever the total value. The Don didn't say. So the perpetrator, rejecting his ruling, said, why do I need to be judged by the Ishkalusa rules according to the Persian law? He says 60 times greater than the damage caused. The amount is much less than 33 1/3 dinars. So he said, if the Chacham said the basin appraises damages caused by one's property, such as his animal, relative to an area 60 times greater, would they say this also, that the basin appraises damage relative to an area 60 times greater than for direct damage caused by one's body? So when I buy that up, what's your opinion in regards to damage caused by one's body? Italia, we learned Mafkir Karma Shachavidis Smadar. If one destroys a vineyard of another while the grapes are budding, the base didn't use how much the vineyard was worth before it was destroyed. It doesn't say anything about Shishim. It's just the basis of your halacha, that fact, the price that the discussed damage is caused directly by a person, the method of appraising one party of 60 is not mentioned. Rabbi continues, is this to say with regard to the damage caused by an animal it's not taught in the Mishnah or Bryce without mentioning the method of appraising one party as like 60 in the case? Tanya was taught, if an animal broke down a sapling that had not been born, basically says those are the decrees in Yerushalayim say, now, so they say that the sapling wasn't the first, so the owner of the animal pays 2 pieces of silver. If the sapling was 2 years old, pays 4 pieces of silver. If the animal was unripe blades of grain, the Rabbi says, Nidin b'mishriya shabai. Basically, it's judged according to what remains it. You see how much the field was worth before this and how much it's worth now. Ochla smadar, if you hate the grapes while they were budding stage, Yishoim or Enesikila and another mainly but so the base then use the grapes that were damaged as if they were grapes about to be picked. Chomra say or Bava Kamah, he saw Bava Kamah Yafa, how much the vineyard was worth before the animal and how much it's worth now. But we shouldn't big fun of when the animal ate young branches of vines or shoots of figs. When they ate upright grapes, upright figs or grapes. We view and praise them as if the grapes ready to be picked. Now, telling me is for rather you must say that the wording employed by the Bryce is to be understood that the basin of praise is damage relatively to an area 60 times greater. Here too, the Bryce dealing with one who himself causes damage, the wording is to be understood that to mean that the damage is valued relative to an area 60 times greater.